The biggest misnomer about records is that they're individual records. If you watch the Eagles on Sunday, you could see nothing could be further from the truth.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Monster Monday presented, of course, by DraftKings. I am Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Most of you know that. Through the NFL season, all the way through the Super Bowl, we give you a daily dose of NFL episode for about 26 minutes, Monday through Friday. Then I got a bunch of other, I don't know if ancillary podcast is the right way to describe it, but on Mondays we do the College Draft Podcast, which is huge for 2 reasons. Number one, Emory Hunt had a great weekend of college football betting against the spread. Number 2, we have the college football playoff quarterfinals over the next couple days. So make sure you check out the College Draft Podcast this week. We will record it bright and early Monday morning like we're doing this one as well. Tuesday, we'll have the Even Money Betting Podcast. A little unlucky there again this week, unfortunately. Fantasy Feast, Wednesday and Thursday to get you ready to play DFS for Week 18 slate, since so many of you are now done with your fantasy playoffs and all that stuff. Now you get into the fun of DFS Week 18 as well as in the playoffs. So, and Andrew Brandt does the business of sports. He does a terrific job. New week means a new opportunity for you to get something signed from me in the mail. Love those of you that spread the word via social media, at Ross Tucker NFL, at Ross Tucker Pod, or just rating and reviewing the show. Sponsor confirmation emails. We got some great sponsors. WestShoreHome.com/Ross. Game Time using the code Ross. Great time to take advantage of those discounts and then forward it to me. I love sending you guys these press passes. Just did Chiefs Steelers, Patriots Chargers. Really, really appreciate all the kind words from so many of you on social media and via email for the broadcast of that Patriots Chargers game. That was very cool. Keep the YouTube comments coming. I love doing these videos for you and then emailing them to you, whoever the winner is. YouTube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
All right, Ross, what were your overall themes from Week 17 across the NFL?
I think there's a bunch, Jack, that jumped out to me. I don't really know. I guess some of the order depends on, how the games went down. The one I will say, in particular, for job status, job security, how you finish matters a lot. I've been a part of the NFL since 2001, and how you finish the season makes a big, big difference in the minds of the ownership, right? So I don't know what would happen in some of these cities where, coaches are being asked about it, right? I know after the game yesterday, Shane Steichen in Indianapolis was asked about his job security. The same with Gerard Mayo on Saturday after the game I called, and I guess some fans were chanting for him to be let go. I do think how you finish matters a great deal, which, by the way, on the other side of that is Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. Antonio's won back-to-back games. He's trying to finish strong so that Mark Davis gives him a second year. Feels like they're building on enough there that he gets a second year with the Raiders. It is funny, too, by the way. Gerard Mayo is the only one of them that has a quarterback that I would say is clearly a franchise quarterback in Drake May. The Raiders don't have their guy, and I do not think that Anthony Richardson, based on what I've seen, is the long-term answer for the Colts. So that's always something to keep in mind. But takeaway number one, or theme number one, for job security, for GMs, for head coaches, for everybody, how you finish matters. And I think, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, I think for the most part, and this is like another one of the themes, I think every team with quote, unquote, something to play for, like the Chargers against the Patriots, or the Bills against the Jets. I think every team, the Bucks against the Carolina Panthers, the Eagles against the Cowboys, every matchup that was a team that had quote unquote, again, I use those in quotation marks. I think there's always something to play for, but I think every team that had something to play for beat the team that didn't have anything to play for. And in most cases, by a considerable amount, except for the Colts Giants. The Colts Giants was the one outlier in all those other games in terms of, the team with something to play for beating the team that had nothing to play for. Not a good look for the Colts, obviously, that's the case. But that was a theme, is that they all won except for that one. And by the way, another theme is just how much the draft order changed, right? I mean, think about that. Like, the Giants were supposed to have the number 1 pick. Now they're down to like 5. The Raiders with back-to-back wins, they're not even, they're barely like in the top 10. I think I haven't looked at it, but I know that it has changed significantly. The Patriots right now have the number 1 overall pick, which is, I guess, the positive of losing, although, they could have been more competitive in losing. It didn't need to be that ugly with their loss. But that was one of the things that jumped out to me as well, was just how much the draft order changed with those teams I just mentioned winning. I think the last one would just be that there's a lot of records being broken. And what I like about a lot of records being broken in week 16 or week 17, but in the 16th game, is that you're comparing apples to apples, right? There will be more records broken next week, but I like the fact that Saquon Barkley was able to go over 2,000 yards in 16 games, or that Brock Bowers was able to break Mike Ditka's record for most yards ever by a rookie tight end. Although I think Ditka did that in 14 games, but still, he did it like old school, 16 games. Same with, by the way, Brock Bowers beating Puka Nakua's record for rookie receptions in a season. So Josh Allen, that's a career record, but he broke the record with touchdown rushes with Thurman Thomas. That is incredible that Josh Allen has 65 rushing touchdowns. Absolutely incredible. I had no idea it was that many. And then even Justin Herbert, he broke Peyton Manning's record for the most passing yards in a quarterback's first 5 years. And he did it, with obviously another game to spare. So records were being broken everywhere. And they were doing it in 16 games, which I really appreciate quite a bit as well.
All right, Ross, we'll start with a game you might know a thing or two about. The Chargers. They beat down on the Patriots 40-7.
They really did. That was surprising to me because of how the Bills-Patriots game had gone the week before. And also, I thought the Patriots would put forth a better performance. At home, national TV, it was a standalone game, which, by the way, just side note, it's remarkable how many more text messages and social posts and stuff you get when it's the only game on. Absolutely remarkable compared to like when I'm usually doing a Sunday 1 or 4 and there's a lot of other games going. The Chargers, give them a lot of credit. They came out, they took care of business. The offensive line did an outstanding job of protecting Justin Herbert, who lit up the Patriots. The secondary is probably the best part of the Patriots defense. And Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, they all mentioned that when I talked to them. Yet they were able to get open because Herbert had so much time. Even when the Patriots were rushing 5 guys, they were not able to generate very much pressure. They don't have guys that can win, so they try to do 3-man pick games. And they would get some pressure late sometimes, but it took a while. That was probably the biggest negative for the Patriots, I would say, was just the sheer lack of pressure on Herbert. It's not a good look because that is, on some level, an indication of effort. And with Herbert lighting up the Patriots, Ladd McConkey also was breaking records. Now, these are Chargers team records, but still goes over 1,000 yards, breaks Keenan Allen's record for receptions, and he did it in 16 games as well. He was a tremendous, tremendous draft choice. Kind of wild to think the Chargers traded up with the Patriots to get Ladd McConkey. How much you think Drake May would love to have Ladd McConkey right now? Can you even imagine? I mean, Drake May and Ladd McConkey would be awesome for years and years in New England. And the Patriots could have just drafted him, but they didn't. Drake May took a vicious shot, got checked for a head injury. When he went to the locker room, I was not expecting to see him back in the game. He came back in, so kudos to him for that. Was able to come back into the game and did some positive things through a nice touchdown pass on a free play. He just gets it. That kid just gets it. But ultimately, man, not a good look for New England. And congratulations to the Chargers for punching their playoff ticket. They're trying to get the 5 seed.
Next up, the Bengals. They escaped a near awful loss to the Denver Broncos, 30-24.
Absolutely incredible game. And Jack, I think you described it exactly correctly. When you think about how the end of regulation ended with the Bengals, they would have had a chance to run out the clock and kick a field goal, but Chase Brown got hurt while making sure he didn't score a touchdown while going down. I mean, that is rough. Then in overtime, they get down near the end zone, and Cade York misses a chip shot field goal to win it. The Bengals are still alive, as are the Dolphins. The Colts no longer, but that would have been one of the worst losses. That would have been a very standard Bengals loss this year. Just a fantastic game. I was very jealous since this was the game after me on NFL Network. Bo Nix, I thought, did some really positive things. An amazing touchdown bomb to Mims. I think it was Mims. It was like 70 yards in the air. And then after the Bengals scored the touchdown with like a minute and a half left in the game to go up by a touchdown, and it looked like it was going to be tough for the Broncos to match that, Bo Nix threw a touchdown pass to Mims, who made a crazy contested catch. They have something in Mims for sure. So then it goes to OT. You know, Sean Payton decided to go for the tie or go for overtime, which he's not saying, but that was the right decision. I mean, he was 2 minutes away from a tie, which would have clinched a playoff berth for him. So I do think when you take that calculus into account, that it was a smart decision by the Broncos there. You know, the Bengals got another chance, though, in overtime, and T. Higgins made 2 key plays to win it. Get the ball down near the goal line, then he scored the touchdown. T. Higgins, huge in that game for the Bengals, who are still alive. All right, so maybe it's some of these college bowl games, or maybe it's Week 18. You can get some incredible, incredible deals right now on the Game Time app. I'm looking right now at that epic Vikings-Lions game Sunday night, which will be for the number 1 seed. You can get in for $300-some, but with some of these other Week 18 games not being as impactful, this is a great opportunity to take your family to an NFL game, a regular season game, for a very affordable price. Just make sure you get the Game Time app. I love their Game Time picks where they kind of give you what they think are the best. The key is the all-in pricing, the lowest price guarantee, and the view from the seat, which I love. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ROSS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account and redeem code ROSS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football's a we thing. An experience best enjoyed together with good drinks and good folks. Smirnoff's the world's number 1 vodka and an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this is a great week to enjoy some Smirnoff cocktails. It's New Year's Eve. It's New Year's Day. It's college football playoff. It's NFL Week 18. This holiday, when you're enjoying the game and your cocktails, please make sure to drink responsibly. Smirnoff, we do game days. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age.
Next up, the Rams. They get even closer to locking up the NFC West with a 13-9 win over the Cardinals.
I think they did lock it up now, right? I think they did with the Commanders' win last night.
I didn't know if the tying scenarios happened. Yeah, they did clinch it with that win last night, correct?
Yeah. It was that they had the strength of victory tiebreaker, and the Commanders' win last night clinched the division for the Rams. So kudos to the Rams for that. It's amazing that that's what the tiebreaker comes down to, the strength of victory tiebreaker. That's pretty wild. That game, man, that was one. I thought the Cardinals outplayed the Rams. I thought the Cardinals were the better team. That was a rough loss for the Cardinals. You think about a blocked extra point. I thought Kyler Murray played better in the game than Matthew Stafford. The Cardinals just couldn't finish when they got down there, either stopped on fourth downs or settling for field goals. That was a rare one where you felt like the team with nothing to play for outplayed the team with everything to play for. Really both sides of the ball. But ultimately, whether it's coaching or whether it's just, having the instinct to make the plays late, the Rams were able to make the key plays late, most notably the interception by Witherspoon in the end zone, which was the key there to end the game. It looked like the Cardinals were about to, that might have been first down. It looked like the Cardinals were about to score the game-winning touchdown, or at least the go-ahead touchdown, which they had to go for, by the way, because they couldn't just tie it with a field goal, and the ball went off McBride's helmet, bounced in the air, and got caught for an interception by Witherspoon. Just a tremendous, tremendous play.
The Giants, they tanked their chances again, the first overall pick with a 45-33 win, eliminating the Colts.
Ooh, I like that terminology, Jack. They tanked their chances of getting the number one overall pick. And even when they had the lead early in the game, like 20-6 or whatever, I posted on social media, Giants fans, I got to know how you're feeling. I got to know, because I was so curious. And most of them were not happy. Most of them, in fact, were decidedly upset that they were in that situation, that they were going to lose the number one overall pick. That was like what was giving them hope. That was their saving grace. Brian Daboll was doing whatever he can to try to salvage his job. Just a really, really inept performance by the Colts on defense. I mean, bad. Bad. You give up 45 points. Drew Lock had the game of his life feeding Malik Neighbors. Like, who are you going to cover if you're playing the Giants? You cover Malik Neighbors, yet he tore them up. I mean, took two of them to the house. It was long touchdowns. Even though the Colts usually play this soft zone coverage, they still weren't able to make the tackles. It was bad, really bad. Flacco, I thought, was overall pretty good in the game, which I think it's really not a good sign for Anthony Richardson that he didn't play in that game, wasn't able to play in that game. But the Colts at least still scored, 33 points. Could have been more. It was really their defense that let them down. Credit Drew Lock and Malik Neighbors in particular. I mean, obviously Tyrone Tracy did some positive things as well, but ultimately it was really Drew Lock and Neighbors and a putrid defensive performance by the Colts.
Next up, the Bills. They blow out the Jets 40-14.
Right, and these are the games I don't like, right? When it feels like the team with something to play for plays this much better. Usually I take a lot of pride in professional football players, NFL teams being competitive until the very end and fighting. I'm not sure you could say that about the Bills, although I guess when Tyrod Taylor came in, it sounds like Aaron Rodgers kind of took himself out of the game. I'm not exactly sure what the deal is there, but it sounds like he said maybe give Tyrod a chance when it was 33-0 or something, Tyrod Taylor. At any rate, it was 40-0 at one point in this game. You do not see that very often in the NFL. Rodgers and the Jets, as usual, not converting on fourth downs. He got a pass tipped and picked by Jordan Phillips. I thought the Bills' defense, which hasn't been great the last few weeks, played much better. That was encouraging. You got to think this is the end for Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. I just can't imagine that the new GM would want to start his thing with Aaron Rodgers for so many reasons. I would be stunned. I actually think it's going to be fascinating to see which team actually does sign Aaron Rodgers if he gets a chance. And then Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper both made big-time plays for the Bills. That's what they need. They're going to need to get where they want to go. They're going to need those guys to make some big-time plays.
Tennessee loses to the Jags on the road 20-13.
How about our guy, Sean King, who in May said he thought Brian Thomas would be the best rookie receiver? That guy is dynamic. He's electric. He represents hope for the Jags with how well he has played. Tennessee, they just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Losing Spears in the third quarter hurt them. Mason Rudolph is what he is. He's like a solid backup quarterback. But kudos to the Jags. I thought Mason Rudolph, I thought Mac Jones did some positive things. Joshua Hines-Allen came to play. They have some pieces. Let's put it that way.
Next up, the Raiders. They beat the Saints 25-10.
Well, and the Saints, at least early, they had some trickeration, and Spencer Rattler threw a cool touchdown pass, and Spencer Rattler was keeping them in it, but that was about it, right? I mean, no Kamara. They were 1 for 10 on third down. They didn't play very well defensively because Aiden O'Connell had maybe his best game of the year, in particular feeding Brock Bowers. 7 catches, 77 yards as he broke those records. Puka Nacua talked about. I think the biggest surprise to me was the Raiders running the ball so well. Amir Abdullah, the first 100-yard game of his 10-year career, 141 games. That is incredible. Congrats to Amir Abdullah. That's amazing.
Bucks, they dominate Carolina at home and get closer to capturing the NFC South 48-14.
Man, these games, when Baker Mayfield is dialed in and on point, good luck. I mean, he is absolutely lighting them up. It's super impressive. 359 yards, 5 touchdown passes, a lot, again, to Mike Evans, who had 2 more touchdown catches. I actually thought Bryce Young and the Panthers offense did some really positive things, some beautiful touch passes from Bryce Young. But without Hubbard, Carolina couldn't keep up. And the defense, really, really poor performance by the Panthers defense. They let Bucky Irving run all over him as well.
Eagles blow out the Cowboys to clinch the NFC East 41-7.
They did, and Saquon Barkley got the 2,000 yards, which is why I'm going to give him the hungriest performance of the week, presented by 11 Oaks. Genuine Wagyu beef, delicious. Angus beef. They got the heritage breed pork, the free-range chicken. It's all locally raised in Central PA. You can go to 11oaksfarms.com to get some delicious meat, or you can stop by the store in Newville if you happen to be a Central Pennsylvania resident like your boy, 11oaksfarms.com. The biggest misnomer about records is that they're individual records. If you watch the Eagles on Sunday, you could see nothing could be further from the truth. Every guy on that team wanted to see Saquon Barkley get to 2,000 yards. It meant a lot to the offensive line. It meant a lot to the offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland. Even watching the receivers like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, the way they blocked downfield for him, everybody wanted to see him get that record, or at least get to 2,000 yards. That was so cool to see. And that's one of the things that is really cool about records that people don't talk about enough. Everybody takes ownership of it, like the Eagles did with Saquon getting 2,000.
Miami, they kept their season alive with a 20-3 win.
Tyler Huntley, that was his best game of the year, I thought. And yes, they kept it alive. No Tua, but Tyler Huntley, I mean, what was he, like 22 of 26? Huntley looked good, played well. Kudos to Huntley for that performance. The Dolphins needed it.
Minnesota holds off Green Bay late to set up the game of the year next week, 27-25.
Number 1 seed will be on the line. Sunday Night Football, Lions, Vikings should be epic. I was disappointed in the Packers defense. Sam Darnold totally lit them up throughout most of the game. It felt like they couldn't cover any of their guys. It wasn't just Justin Jefferson. It was Addison, Hawkinson, Jalen Nailor's wide open for a touchdown. And the Packers really were stuck in neutral. They didn't really do much. Give them credit, though, for sticking with it, right? And they kept battling late in the game. They got it all the way back to 27-25, but it was 27-10. And the Vikings had the ball like at the 20-yard line for the Packers. I was actually surprised that the Packers came back to make a game of it at that point. Just too many mistakes by the Packers in a game like that to be able to win it.
And the Commanders, they lock in a wild card bid and kind of hurt the Falcons' playoff chances with a 30-24 overtime win.
That was a wild game. I mean, that was, especially in the first half, it really felt like the Falcons were dominating Bijan Robinson and the run game. I mean, the Commanders were powerless to stop them. But I'm telling you, Jaden Daniels fosters this belief. These guys believe because of who they have at quarterback. He kept battling. Unbelievable performance by him on the run. He breaks RG3's record for rushing yards in a season. And then in overtime, they take the ball, march right down for a touchdown. Kudos to the Commanders fans for getting that one done and punching their playoff ticket. Other than that, I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. It is never too late, or in this case, never too early to go ahead and start to think about Valentine's Day for your significant other. Myfrontpagestory.com, myfrontpagestory.com, backofficescheduler.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture,